Hello and welcome back to Indie Insights Live. We are excited today. We really get to talk to some movers and shakers in the industry every week here on Indie Insights Live, and today is no exception. We're being joined by Emilie Lewis, who is the newly appointed VP of Fashion Events at Informa, which of course oversees magic and project and sourcing and off price and every show that fashion retailers are attending. So, Emilie, before we bring you into the conversation, and we have a lot to cover today, I just want to remind everyone on here that there's a lot of ways to listen to Indie Insights Live. Thank you for joining live with us to our attendees. As you know, we love participation. Ask questions right in the chat. There's Q&A, there's the chat function. We're going to answer questions as we go. You'll also be able to watch this on our YouTube channel. You'll also be able to listen to this coming very soon to every major podcast platform. And as always, we will be sending out the recording. So without further ado, Emilie, how are you today?
Hey, Dane, thank you for having me. I'm super excited to be here. What not a better way to spend my Thursday morning here in Los Angeles than talking to you about the industry and what's coming, what we've seen, and then obviously what the portfolio of the Fashion by Informa is really, marching toward the beat of, yeah, some change, some good change, I think.
Good.
So,
We like change, and we're going to want to hear about all those details.
yeah.
And as you know, Management One has been a huge partner of Informa
Yes.
over the
Yes.
years. We're going to be making a big presence this year at the show in Vegas. I can't believe we're
Yeah.
flying out. Is it like a week we'll be flying out?
It always comes so much faster than you think. I mean, I literally remember, I think I've been in the role for maybe 11 or 12 weeks at this point, and I remember thinking, oh, we have such a long runway. We've got to do so many things. And then, yeah, it's here. We're literally a week away. This time next weekend, I think a lot of people will be descending upon Vegas, including me and you and the whole teams on both our sides. And we kick off a week from Monday. So the whole of the fashion market in Vegas, which does include sourcing, off price, magic, project, will be kicking off in Vegas. And essentially, we take over the LVCC. Like, we're in town, we're there. There's no denying it. So.
Oh yes, and before I have to do a little shameless plug. Uh, I'm going to do two shameless plugs. The first is, and we're always excited to partner with Magic on this, and we really appreciate your support for our clients.
Yes.
For Management One clients, we do have a limited amount of Premier Partnership badges. So, Nico, if you want to put that link in the chat, Magic is gracious enough to provide us with Premier Partner badges for select clients of Management One. Make sure you grab them. It's an incredible thing to have when you're in Vegas and you want that lunch
Yes.
and you want to take some
Yeah.
meetings. So
Yes.
it is our pride to be able to offer that to our clients. So make sure you sign up for that. And then there's also many chances to see Management One. We're going to be speaking on the main stage at Magic. We're going to be speaking in the Business Solutions Center. We're going to be speaking at Project. We're going to be giving tours of sourcing. So there is a lot to come. But enough about us. Emilie, let's talk about you. I mean, you said, how long has it been since you've been in this new role?
Oh, I think I'm going either on week 11 or week 12. So definitely, I would say drinking from the proverbial fire hose, but honestly, I've spent the majority of my career in fashion, so it feels like a bit of a coming home, which is nice. Um, but yeah, it definitely, was a conversation that was an interesting one with Informa. And look, at the end of the day, the breadth and the reach of Informa and the fashion group has so many legacy brands in it. But what I will say is, sitting down through the interview process and being in New York with our North American CEO, Patrick Martell, he and I had such an amazing conversation about the future of this brand. And that's what excites me is really where are we taking this brand and where is the industry going? I mean, again, just sitting down with a CEO that has so many different industries and responsibilities, under his guidance. And he really, really is deeply embedded in what's happening in the fashion industry. Like, what are our retailers saying? What are our brands saying? Like, and that for me was really one of the selling points is that was, really one of the first kind of questions and conversations is like, what are our customers saying? Are we listening to them? And that for me is everything because it's always customer first. Like I love the Nordstrom mentality. At the end of the day, the customers always come first. I think the hard part about what we do is anticipating what the customer needs before they know they need it.
Mm.
And that's where the fun begins is starting to anticipate what they need before they're asking us for those things. So yeah, that's what we're doing a lot of these days, a lot of strategy sessions. But I think you're going to see some small changes coming up in the August marketplace. And then, I would say, get on board 2027. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting.
We are on board. So, Emily, you said
Yeah.
you've been in the fashion industry for quite a while now.
Yeah.
Walk us through I started my career at the trade shows. I don't know if
Yeah.
you know
Yeah.
this, that I
Yeah.
started my career in fashion in, it was in 2008. Ay, ay,
I,
ay.
I know we're going to age ourselves when we start to go down memory lane.
I know, I know. And I started at Project Menswear, the
Hmm.
menswear show, and just such an incredible, kind of. I like to think of it as like a boot camp in the industry. So,
Yes.
give us a little bit about your background. Where has this ride taken you?
Well, I always say I started at retail. I was on a trajectory coming from a family. First of all, I grew up in the South. I grew up in a very, very small town in the South in Mississippi. I was on a trajectory of becoming a lawyer. That's what my dad was. I grew up in a household where, it was like you're either a lawyer, you're a doctor, you're an engineer, an accountant, something that makes sense. Um, and so, I was headed to law school and just happened to have a part-time job working in an amazing women's wear boutique, Village Tailor, who I still, visit when I go home and really just started to see things. So that for me was really interesting. I started to see, buying patterns that were really not working for revenue. I started to see margins that weren't being optimized. And this was, at a really young age. And I was lucky enough to actually be able to go to Coterie. So again,
Mm.
very full circle moment for me. I went to Coterie when I was in college on a buying trip, and that was my first entrance into the fashion industry. And it was immediate. It was immediate the
Wait,
minute
so
that I went to Coterie.
you were in Mississippi
Yeah, yeah.
working at a retail
Yeah,
store, and they fly you to New York to attend
yeah,
Coterie, which, as anyone knows, is
yeah.
like, you
The
know,
Mecca.
the
Yeah,
mecca of women's
yeah,
fashion trade events. That must have
yeah.
been an awesome experience.
Yeah, I mean, look, I've had a few full circle moments. I think, if you look at my career going to Coterie at such a young age was really eye opening because I did not realize the business that sat behind a really fun creative agency. You see the finished product in a store as a consumer and you don't understand the amount of people, the amount of logistics, the manufacturing, the production, the sourcing, the textiles, the buying and the pricing and the margins. Like you don't understand all that goes into that shirt. And I always come back to this because there was that moment, and it's a fun kind of moment where a lot of us in the fashion industry, when Devil Wears Prada, the first one came out, we're sitting in the movies and we're listening to that entire speech about cerulean blue,
Mm,
a
mhm.
cerulean blue Gap sweater. And all of us that are in the fashion industry are collectively like, yes, yes, we get it. There's so much more to that sweater than most people think. So it definitely was a full circle moment. Fast forward about, gosh, 11 or 12 years, and I was offered a role that was overseeing Coterie moved me to New York. I lived in New York for the better part of, almost 4 years, and oversaw Coterie. So that really for me was my first full circle fashion moment, where the show I that really, I'll say made me trip into the fashion industry.
Mm.
I ended up overseeing. And then again, this is another full circle moment where, like yourself, my first entry into trade shows was Project. And so my first trade show I ever worked on, after coming out of working with brands, I went to LA, I worked for BCBG, I worked in the visuals department. I worked for a great licensing brand called Junk Food, apparel that was later sold to Delta Apparel, one of the largest license holders at the time. Great t-shirt brand. Everybody has seen them in Gap.
I sold a lot of junk food in my
Yeah,
day.
yeah. Um, and so, I had some really amazing few years in house with brands, really learning about the industry from a licensing standpoint to a production standpoint to a wholesale sales cycle standpoint. And then my first entry into trade shows was Project as well. And so then again, another full circle fashion moment for me is now coming into the company that owns the whole of this portfolio to really nurture and evolve this portfolio of multiple brands, including Project and including Coterie, and what that means. So yeah, it's been a fun ride.
And I think that this is really important. Why I wanted to kind of set the stage a little bit is I think sometimes, and I used to get this in the trade show world as well, that there's this feeling that the trade shows, you know, how understanding are you of what's happening on the ground, and to hear your
Yeah,
experience, right, and to hear that
yeah,
you've worked in the retail store, you've worked with brands, you've worked at the shows for years, you are really coming from a perspective that understands what the your customer needs, who are the
yeah,
boutique owners, who are the buyers, who are the department stores, what's going on and what they really need in order to be successful. Okay, so
yeah,
now
yeah,
looking to the shows that are coming up, and I think why we're here today is because we want to have an understanding of not
yeah.
only what's happening in the shows, right, but how the shows are evolving with the industry right now. And I could just say that this was back in 2009, 2010. Even back then, it was in a few years, the trade shows aren't going to be here anymore. It's all going to be over. I mean, every year we
I
hear this, right?
we've
This
been
is the
hearing that for
last year.
20 years. Yeah, yeah. No.
So what does, we're getting on planes, we're going to be there, in just a little over a week from now. What can people expect from market this year?
Yeah, so going back to your question of, the trade shows and, are they still going to be here? I mean, my definitive answer is yes. Always. Yes. There is no replacement for touching and feeling a finished product. But I'll go a step above that. There's no replacement for actually being in the same room with over 16,000 other industry friends and colleagues that are doing something similar to you and networking and learning together. There really is no replacement for that, because I think that, as an industry, and I will say, like in the past, like there's been, it's very cyclical. Fashion is very cyclical. What comes around goes around. Oh, speaking of a brand that was a great one. But
Wagaka.
right, like
Wagaka.
where, yeah, that was one of my favorites back in the day. But I do think that everything is very cyclical, and I think that we're seeing a moment in time across every industry where every single industry is questioning what's next. So this is not unique to fashion, but I think what is unique to fashion is that there is power in numbers. There is power in the community that is the fashion industry, knowing the internal dialogue and the struggles and bringing that community together. And I will say that is really an area of expertise for me in my career, is connecting the dots and bringing the communities together for them to have the conversation. So that's what I would say, that I think you're going to start to see more and more, is that we as trade show organizers want the community to shine at our events. It is about the community. It's about what is top of mind for you. It's about what is your brand struggling with, what, the retailer, 40 miles down the street is doing that is helping them grow and scale, that maybe as a retailer you could learn and glean some of those insights. I think the veil was up for quite some time with fashion. There was this very elusive veil of how things got done. It was, look, it was sexy, it was intriguing, it was mysterious. Everyone wanted to know how the runway got put together and how the brands landed. That veil's, it's gone now at the end of the day. We've got social media. We've got whistleblowers that, call out bad practices and bad actors. I think we have more transparency for our customers. I think our customers have demanded more transparency. So with that veil gone now, I think what the industry is starting to do is actually come together. Like, I'm excited to see, in the future of our retail world and our brand world, more collaboration, more connecting points, more of the mentality of, if I do well, you do well, versus if I can only do well when you don't do well. And I think that that's the shift that I'm seeing. So in a tangible way, there's one thing that you're going to see at the August marketplace that we will continue to build on, and that's a concept called meetups. It's a concept that I've seen be successful across multiple other industries, and no doubt it will be successful in fashion. Essentially, it is a space, a time and a space for people in the industry to come together and talk about a like-minded subject. So I'll give you an example: small boutique owners. So in Magic, there'll be a space and a time for a small boutique owner. We've chosen hosts that, obviously have paid their dues in the industry and or are influencers, or they're very, very well respected in their own right because of the business that they built to be a host. That host could have a roundtable discussion. They could do a panel discussion. They could just do a networking event. But what you're going to see is, whether it's 30 people or, 75 or 80 people, you're going to see the community of small boutique owners come together and sit and chat together about what's working, what's not working, what they're doing, tricks of the trade. And that's what we want more of in this industry. Yeah,
For our listeners here today, or listeners
yeah,
watching, or uh, listeners listening, how do we get involved? How do they get involved in a meetup? What does that actually, do they have to sign
yeah.
up? Do they register? What does this look
You
like?
just show up. So definitely, those that are coming to our show, I will always say download our app. Our app is where you can, just like every other event, it's where you can navigate your calendar and your schedule from, meeting with, if you're a brand, you can get, retailer appointments. If you're a retailer, setting your appointments with the brand. But then beyond that, attending the different learning and content sessions, whether it's a content session and project, like you were saying, Management One, you guys are doing, sessions across the whole of our marketplace. So every marketplace, every brand under the marketplace has different stages. So jump on the app, look at all the different offerings, and just show up. That's all you have to do. There's no price to entry with these. This is meant for the community. If you're a small boutique owner, jump on the app, see when that meetup is, and show up and be ready to collaborate and ready to chat. And I think just come with an open mind. Again, this notion that if another retailer is succeeding, that means you can't. Those days are over. Another retailer is doing something really well, learn from that. And if you're doing something really well, teach another retailer how to learn from that, because the more that we all succeed together, the better we are as an industry.
Yeah, I like to think about it in terms of, there's a collective power to the independent retail industry doing well, and it allows us
100%.
both to compete with the big box and the new threats, and the Amazons, the Targets,
Yeah.
but it
Yeah.
also gives us, when independent retailers share with each other, I think it does give power to that community, especially when dealing with vendors, right? And so I think that that's
100%.
super
100%.
important. Okay, I want to start with, I'm going to work backwards right now.
Okay.
And so I want to start with what I think is a gem of a show. And sometimes I think it gets forgotten about. It's a newer show to
Okay.
the Informa
Ah, know where you're going
portfolio.
here.
Let's talk off price. And I want to talk specifically about why a retailer that doesn't think off price is for them, because I have my opinions here, but I want to get it
Yeah.
straight
Yeah. Yeah.
from
Yeah.
the
Yeah.
why should they go to off price?
such a good question. I'm glad that you bring up off price. It is within the last few years, it is a newer acquisition for the marketplace, but really a completion of our marketplace. Again, you start with the sourcing side, and you can, and it almost is the life cycle of a product can end with the off price side. So, why should a retailer go to off price? Well, I would ask any retailer, do you want to improve your bottom line? I would imagine that answer is yeah. As a retailer, I want my margins to be better and I want to make more revenue. Like it is really, again, I'll use the word, it's really sexy when you're a business owner and you're making a lot of revenue and you have really healthy margins. And we all know in retail that margins can be very tough. So why to go to off price? That period, hands down, is the reason. Because what you're going to do is you're going to find product there that has seen, a span of a life cycle, but that doesn't mean that your customer wouldn't be interested in it. And I think that that is the misconception, is that most people think of off price is, it's the goods that people don't want. And that's simply not true. A lot of times it's the goods that sometimes just because of bad math were overproduced. Sometimes because of factory minimums were overproduced. Sometimes because of simple location and marketplace of maybe where they were sitting did not sell. That does not mean that it would be something that your customer isn't interested in. So what I would say is, most retailers coming to the show have a very good grasp on who their customer is. So you can find some of those point of sale purchases that really can help build those margins, or that one specific category that you sell very well. If you are the retailer that sells tank tops and you cannot keep them in your shop, and that is your girl is always coming to you for tank tops, go to off price and find the off price guy that has the tank tops that again got overproduced simply because a factory minimum had to be met. And you're going to get them at such a better price, and you're going to have better margins on them. So don't discount it. Look, I think at the end of the day, a lot of people discount it because maybe, I get it. You walk into the show and vendors are still using grids. I get it. Like, as someone in the industry, like we don't love to see things hanging on grids and booths. We want the really beautiful presentation. We all have creative in us. Otherwise we wouldn't be in this industry. But don't discount the show because of that. Because
Well,
at that show, they're really serious business people.
yeah, and here's what I've found with off price, because over the years I've shopped at off price, and with over the last few seasons I've actually given tours of off price,
Yeah,
and
yeah.
here's where I think that in my personal opinion where retailers miss out here.
Okay.
There's discovery there,
Yeah,
and
100%.
one of the questions I always get, especially from like contemporary women's stores, kids stores, a lot of kids stores have this question, is like, well, my margins are set, right? My vendors set the margins. There's
Mm-hmm.
not much I can do. I have a 55%, markup. That's the most I could get. And I don't have opportunities to really operate outside of that. And
Yeah.
I don't want to use this word, but it's one of my favorite words. It's the tchotchkes there, right? I think that
Yeah.
there's a
Yeah. Yeah.
lot of stuff, and I'll give you a perfect example: beach bags, right?
Yeah.
There
Yeah.
is like an incredible assortment there, and these are things that you could layer into the store. So maybe you're a really high-end women's boutique, and you just want a nice, easy beach bag that someone can grab at a pretty good cost, and you're buying it for $5, $10 and can sell it maybe for, 45, $50. And
100%.
it's good product, right? So, maybe you're not going there for apparel. Maybe you'll find some sleeper hits
Yeah.
in the apparel
Yeah.
side, but
Yeah.
there is so much good accessories to layer into the business. And
A
these
hundred
things
percent.
and these things build up, right? It's not like,
Yeah.
oh, okay, it's just one beach bag, right? You buy some accessories, some margin drivers, even stuff like stickers and candles, and all of a sudden
Yep.
you're building margin, and it's
Yeah.
good product, right? You have to,
Yeah.
now
Yeah.
you have to be discerning, and you have to have a good eye, but there's good product to be had.
100%. So, what you call tchotchkes, I call the point of sale purchases. Yes,
Yeah.
those are the margin builders. And for any retailer to say that they don't have control over their margins, I would absolutely challenge that. Like, there are ways to improve on those margins. I think it's like anything else. Go in with a plan. Go in with what you really are looking to discover. To your point, it is about discovery, but what is that item and that seasonality or that, you know, um, you know, certain celebration that's coming up that you're not going to buy deep maybe into that one item, but you need the point of sale purchase that's going to keep the store fresh and keep that girl coming back. Honestly, like you said, in summer, those beach bags, maybe you're not getting, you know, 10 of the exact same beach bag, but maybe you're getting 10 very different bags at a really amazing margin that keep your store exciting and fresh. So 100% agree with you. Those point of sale purchases, come in with a plan so that you don't get overwhelmed is what I will say, because it is easy to walk in, look around, and just be like, oh, this is not for me. So you have to come in with a plan and with an open mind, knowing really what are those discovery pieces that you're looking to find. But off price is such a hidden gem, and I would challenge any retailer that disagrees with me. Email me. I'll walk you through there, and we'll find something
Ah,
together. I promise we will. Yeah.
all right, you heard it here first, folks. That's a private invitation from Emily.
Private invitation.
All right, now let's shift back over to the LVCC. By the way, where is Off Price going to be located this year?
Off price will be in north. So our campus map is sourcing is in south, south lower. All of Magic is in central this season. So Magic was split a little last season. We're all in central. So everything from accessories to footwear to young contemporary to trend to contemporary, all in central under one hall. And then Project and Off Price are in north. So Project is N1 and N2, and Off Price is N3 and N4.
Okay, so we have Project and Off Price in North. We have Magic, the entirety in Central Hall. And
Yep.
then in
Mm-hmm.
South Hall, we have sourcing. Okay, so
Yep.
now I want to ask a question because, and I think this is fair game. In the past, it's gotten a little, there's been some changes to what's the product mix at Magic, what's the product
Yep.
product mix at Project. And I think you guys have done a tremendous job at refining that. Where do we stand this year? What types of product categories can we expect at Magic? Is there trend? Is there women's contemporary? Where give
Yep.
us the lay of the land?
Yeah, look, I think that as the industry changes and evolves, we have to as well. So definitely, I think you'll see a shift season over season, because we know that this industry moves faster than ever. That's what I will say, especially with technology, AI, influencers, content creators, the Amazons of the world. Like, we all have to move very fast. But what I'll continue to say is that over 63% of our attendee base are exactly what we've been talking about, these specialty boutiques across the country and across the globe. And so those boutiques, for a lot of our brands, they're really hard to reach a lot of times. So that's really the plus of our marketplace, is that you get the exposure to those boutiques that you want to do business with. Regardless of what the category is, I think Magic, the way that I think about it is Magic continues to be the women's hub in Vegas. Project continues to be the men's hub in Vegas. Sourcing is sourcing. It's where it starts. It's where you find your manufacturers. It's where you can actually affect your margins for those retailers out there. It's where you learn about how to do private label and white labeling. It's where you grow and scale on a different level. And then off price again is really again where you can kind of maybe bust some of those margin myths that you might have. But in terms of Magic, I mean, yeah, you're going to see everything from trend to young contemporary to footwear and accessories across all those spans, from trend, young contemporary, and contemporary. Um, and then, we do have one newer initiative this season, which is, you had mentioned earlier on the call, our Business Solutions Center, BSC. This, I think, is where I'm really most excited about where the future of our brand and our marketplace is going. It's going beyond a booth interaction. That will always be the core
Mm.
of our business. It is to get retailers and buyers together to do business and do real business. But I think what we're finding and what we're hearing from our retailers is that more and more they want to know how to operate better businesses. They're really smart. And we were talking about this, on a separate call. This notion that small boutique owners somehow it's a hobby to be a small boutique owner, or it's more of a fun thing to do. No, no, I will challenge that all day long. Small boutique owners are some of the most persistent, dedicated, devoted, hardworking individuals out there, because it is really hard with the margins to make a small boutique not only successful, but to make it drive really, increasing revenue year over year, which is what any business wants to do. You want to grow and scale. So the Business Solution Center, I think, is a really exciting aspect. So this is really where both the retailers and the brands can meet with businesses that are on the periphery of the buying and the selling aspect. So they're in our industry. They're very important in our industry, but they're on the periphery of maybe the creative side, which is the buying and the selling side. They're POS systems. So it is virtual try on. It is AI companies. It is retail consultancies. It is, 3PLs. It's logistics and manufacturing and warehousing. So all of these things that it takes for a retailer and a brand to grow and scale, this is where you get to have a face-to-face conversation and demos on their product to learn how you can bring these things into your operation to grow and scale. Again, might not sound exciting to most, but to me, growing and scaling your business and making more money is about the most exciting thing you can do as a business owner. So
Well, I think it's exciting because none other than myself will be
yeah,
doing a product demo
there you
of
go.
our newly rolled out retail orbit. So that
Uh-huh.
will be on day one at 11 a.m. in the Business Solution Center. So I know that we are excited
Yeah,
about that here. And listen, I think that there's and just speaking from a very biased perspective, but you know you come to an event like this, and obviously there you're there to do buying, but if you are investing the time, the money, the energy
yes,
to come to a marketplace like Las Vegas, which is still the epicenter, right? I really view it like that. And there are a lot of
yeah,
regional markets, you have regional shows, but
yeah,
when you really want to get immersed in the entire industry, and listen, service providers are a big part of that, right?
100%, a hundred
And
percent.
these are the kind of game changers that can really refine and elevate your business.
Yeah,
Okay, so that's awesome. So just to kind of rephrase, we have Magic, which is going to be the entirety of women's.
entirety of women's. Yep,
Project which is going to be men's focus, back to the roots of
yep,
Project.
all
Very
men's.
exciting.
Yep,
Uh, co-located with Off Price, so they're right there together.
yep,
And then we're going to have sourcing as well, sitting independently in
yeah.
the South Hall.
In
Okay,
South, yeah. And
great.
the one
So,
thing that I will say really quickly before you move on, I think that there is a misconception in the industry that to take on a solutions provider, you have to be a big guy and have the big checkbooks. I want to bust that myth a little bit, because I think that there are some really amazing smaller, from the startup stage to the mid-size to the large stage. You don't have to bring in, if you're not a Salesforce person, you don't have to go all the way to Oracle or Salesforce or IBM. There are so many providers that can cater to different budgets and different types and different styles of businesses. So, that's the thing I hear a lot is like, oh, we're too small. We couldn't bring in a POS system or an inventory system or logistics handler or whatever. We do it all ourselves. We're still working on Excel spreadsheets. The list goes on in our industry. So, just to say that about, some of these solutions providers, it's not about the budget. it is really about what you need, and I guarantee you'll find someone that can meet you, and provide what you need, based, regardless of the budget.
All right, awesome. And listen, that goes for us as well, right? We're working with emerging retailers all the way up to some of the
There you go.
largest independent
Yeah.
retailers
Yeah.
in North America. So I think people would be surprised, having a consultant, which sounds like, oh,
It's
only
yeah.
not true.
It's exactly not true. Not
Uh,
true.
all right, let's have a little fun. Let's shift gears a
Okay.
little bit. Not that we're not having fun already, but
I was like, I
uh,
thought we've been having fun for the last 30 minutes, Nate. What's
we,
happening?
we're vibing. But I do want to talk some trends. I want to talk some
Yeah.
trends. So
Yeah. Let's talk
I
the
think,
creative stuff.
yeah, and you guys have been producing some awesome webinars.
Yes.
And you put out some great buyers guides, which actually I'm going to put this right here so that everyone can see. I'm going to put this in the chat. And by the way, anybody here, oh, we do have some questions in the chat.
Amazing.
Oh, okay. Hi, Robin Cohen. Robin Cohen's back. We love Robin. I'm going to link to the Informa fashion trends. And
Great.
Emily, I'm just going to roll back to see if there's any questions in
Okay.
here.
Yeah.
Okay, we got some questions.
Let's go.
Okay, Monica 100% agrees with our assessment of needing to attend trade shows. Thanks, Monica. As does
We love you,
Rob.
Monica.
As does Robin. Robin asks, will the off-price show be in New York City?
That's a really good question. This season, no. So the answer for this season is no. What you will have in New York in September is sourcing, magic, and coterie. But it is a really interesting topic, and one that I will say has been circulating during the strategy meeting. So I like to hear that.
So maybe coming soon to New York. Maybe.
We'll see. We'll
Oh,
see.
okay. Monica asks, what are some trends we can expect in clothing colors and styles, and
Yep,
what are the
I'm
most
gonna get into
surprising?
that.
We're going to get into that
Yeah,
in just a moment, Monica. You are same page.
yeah.
Oh, Robin actually started her business as off price 15 years ago and then expanded into full price. So I think
I
that just
love it.
shows there's
Yeah.
room to play here. Rita Mitchell, Rita, a big friend of Management One, says Off Price has terrific ideas for gift with purchase items at great
Oh,
prices. That's
love
another
that.
great way of thinking about that. Giveaways,
Love
gift
that.
with purchases. Like I'm telling you,
Yes.
like I'm really. By the way, I'm not being paid to say to say this. It's just really I enjoy Off Price so much, and
Agreed.
again because and listen, I'm that type of shopper. I love to find a deal. I love to find, the kind
Yeah.
of needle in the haystack. So it is there. Thank you, Rita.
Yeah.
That's a great idea. Um, right. Monica says you'll find some gems. And okay, I think I think that is where I definitely have to check out off price. Okay, we got some excitement around off price. So that's great. Oh, and by the way, can I tell you another off price strategy? Okay, if you have end of season sales, right?
Mm-hmm.
And listen, a lot of retailers are moving through, overstock, and that's all you can handle, right? Just moving through your overstock in July and
Yeah.
January. But let me tell you a little secret, right? If you have a big clearance sale events in July and
Uh-huh.
January for fashion retailers, I would actually buy off-price merchandise to refresh those sales and keep them
Yeah.
going. So, yes, Robin says yes. So, like, that is a strategy too. Like, there is a customer who's your full price customer who's always coming in for newness. There is your
100%.
markdown and clearance customer. It's the cycle of life, it's the circle of life. So, I used to actually
Mm-hmm.
buy into off price goods to bring into the clearance events and still get great margins. So, that's another off price opportunity.
Love love that strategy. That's a really good one.
Yeah. Mark Denkler is here from the NSRA. Mark, good to see you. We
Yeah.
got
Hey, Mark.
some shoe dogs on the call. And Mark says, Magic is more than meeting your existing vendors, but to see off price for new margins and now see the other resources for your business. Plan
Yes.
on 3 days. Yes.
Yes. Yes. Agreed.
Okay. So let's get into some trends. I think everybody always wants a little preview of what's happening. And I'm going to tell you, Emily,
Yeah.
the trends this year were a little esoteric. So I think you have
Yeah.
to walk us through a little bit. We'll start with I think you guys did a really interesting job of creating a through line through the men's
Hmm.
market, the women's market, and even sourcing. So we have awaken, space for solace, ritual. Give us just the pulse of what you're seeing walking into this market.
Yeah, I think you hit the nail on the head when you say a little esoteric, because I do think that it is a reflection of what's happening in our world. Trends always are, at the end of the day. I think that it's also a reflection of maybe what the customer is telling us that, and I will relay this to another Informa event, Cannes Lions, which just happened a few weeks ago. And the one thing that the team there and the media that was coming out of Cannes Lions, the amount of creators that descend upon that event, in the course of a week, we're saying is that we found the events that were the 20 to 30 people dinners where everyone was sitting around a table and actually having a meaningful conversation. They were so powerful versus the massive big box showy spectacles with the 10 Instagram moments that you walk through. Not to say that those elements are ever going to go away, because there's a place and a time for all of those, but I think that goes back to the trends where people are craving something a little bit more simple. They're craving something a little bit more that feels uh, a little bit like home, a little bit like themselves versus this big showy, okay, well, you know, and look, I'm a big fan of Western. We've already discussed that I came from Mississippi. I grew up riding horses. So you will find many a cowboy boots in my closet because I ride. So for me, Western was never a trend. It was a lifestyle. But I think people are starting to get a little tired and exhausted of the trends being so, it's Western, and now it doesn't matter what kind of person you are, you have to wear a Western hat, you have to wear boots, you have to, and so I think what you see that in our trend presentations, where things again are a little softer, a little bit more simple, a little quieter. Maybe that's a better word, a quieter style of
Can I
fashion.
give you a word that I see when I
I Please do.
grounded? I think that the trends this
That's a
year
good one.
are
That's a
very
good one.
very grounded. And
That's a good
so,
one.
in let's take awaken, I'm seeing a lot of um, there's kind of these buttery yellow tones, some neutrals. Yeah,
I was
I see
I was about
here.
to say I didn't do this on purpose today, but buttery yellow continues to come up on every conversation, and it's interesting that I chose this today without thinking about that. But it's soft. It's quieter, softer, grounded. That makes more sense, because I think what you're seeing is that people want to shine through. When you wear the quote unquote trend, it is more about the person wearing it versus the actual trend in the clothing that's on their body. It's more about the person, the personality, versus the trend. And I like that. It's a little bit of a renaissance, I feel like, of maybe, and this goes back to, of course, living in LA. There's a part of this that Hollywood and culture sets the tone for, but going back to what everybody was raving about, just what was it, 5 or 6 months ago, Love Story, which was the JFK and Carolyn Bessette, the '90s
Mm.
revival. I mean, I'm an '80s baby, so I'm going to age myself on that one. But I lived through teenage years in the '90s, teenage and early adult years in the '90s, and it was so refreshing to just see a good pair of jeans, a good white T-shirt, and that's it. It was like, yes, this is what I think people have been craving, and so what comes with that, I think, will be quality. I think quality, craftsmanship, small details. So if that white T-shirt tucked into the good pair of jeans with a, simple bandana, or, a simple, like, really nice belt and loafers, if that's the appeal, then as a brand or as a retailer, when you're choosing the bag, how do you choose the white t-shirt that has really amazing quality or some unique detail that's subtle to set yourself apart? I think that's really where the difference is going to shine through, of who really succeeds in this quieter, more grounded era, and who maybe gets left behind.
Yeah, and it's funny because even like bodycon is one of the trends on the list here, but even I mean when we think of, as
Yeah.
millennials, we think of bodycon as the Hervé Leger,
Hervé Leger,
right?
yes. As a former BCBG employee, Hervé Leger, yes.
But it's different now. There's even like
Yeah,
there's bits of flowiness to it. There's more
yeah.
kind of ephemeral elements to it. So I think you're right, that kind of
Softer. Yeah,
softer, grounded. Okay, so here's and then there's the ritual, which feels a little bit more. I would say kind of you have a little bit of the prairie vibe, but it's more in a it's
yeah.
it's like a like a modern boho, which is always, how would you describe ritual? Like what's going on there?
I
Floral
mean,
print
I
and
always go back to Chloe, and this is what I always say about trends: is there are brands that if you look across every single trend across the past 10 years, you could do an analysis of this. Chloe has been Chloe for years. Chloe has not shape shifted into, something that was not at the heart of Chloe. And Chloe's who I think about, when it comes to like the soft boho, that soft, feminine, flowy boho. So again, I love trends. I just always tell people to be cautiously optimistic about them, and definitely tailor to your region as a retailer, to your region, your demographic, your customer, and what sells. So again, going back to that, if your customer is the denim and t-shirt girl, just because structured fitted suits are coming back in style doesn't mean that you automatically need to start selling
mm,
structured fitted suits. What that means is, how do you translate a structured fitted suit into who your girl is that might be more casual? Is it a structured button down that she can pair with her jeans, and it's of a linen, fabric that's soft, because your girl's going to wear that and she's not going to want to be uncomfortable. So again, in my mind, taking these big box ideas and trends and making sure that you're dissecting them and putting them through a bit of osmosis to fit for your person, your client, your region. Again, we have a regional show in Nashville. Look, cowboy boots are never going to go out of style in Nashville. They've always been in
yes.
style. It was never a trend. So if you're a retailer that's not on board with that in Nashville, I don't know. Like, is it going to be a hard road ahead for you? Maybe it will be, but maybe you take that and you dial it into the Franklin customer, and I'm, because I'm from the South, these regions, Franklin just sits right outside of Nashville, and it's where most people know a lot of the country music stars um, live, but it's a very different customer in Franklin than it is in downtown Nashville. And so who's the Franklin, the Franklin girl versus the downtown Nashville? So again, I always say pay attention to them, but put it through osmosis for your customer.
Yeah, and actually, and Robin kind of beat me to it in the chat, but I was going to say you also have to be hyper aware of where you are on the trend wave, right?
Very good point. Are you at the beginning? Are you at the end? Are you in the middle? Like, where are you going to capitalize? Yeah, good point.
Right. Because, are you a trendsetter? Is your customer a trendsetter where
Yep.
they want to be ahead of everything and kind of understand,
Yes.
what's hitting right, what's about to hit. I want to be on the cusp. Like, let's take barrel jeans, right? That took a
Yeah.
while to filter down. It's kind of like
Yeah.
your cerulean blue example,
Yeah.
right? So
Yes. Yes.
all of a sudden the trendy girls in New York City are wearing the barrel jeans, and a girl maybe in another part of the country is going like, what is that wide-legged, silly jean that I'm seeing? Like, I don't want anything to do with that.
My
And then,
sisters in the South are saying that to me every day when I have on a pair of barrel jeans, just FYI. So yes, yes,
you
there's
know,
truth to that.
and then 6 months to a year later, and all of a sudden it's kind of trickled down. So I think
Yes,
understanding where you are, so maybe you're coming to this market and you're seeing what's going to be next for your customer, right?
yes, yes.
So I think that's very important. One of my favorite things about being at a physical trade event is you could walk in, if you're a good merchant, if you're a good buyer,
Mm-hmm.
if you love
Mm-hmm.
the
Mm-hmm.
industry, right? You could walk in and usually in a matter of minutes be able to say, this is what's happening, right? It
A
just,
hundred
you
percent.
feel it on the floor.
100%.
And it's so interesting seeing the waves of vendors that aren't conspiring with each other, but you'll see that pattern, permeating. So I have two questions for you
Yeah.
on trends. Okay, we're going to play a little lightning round here. The, the first is, because this is always any boutique owner out there will know, it's always the denim conversation. Is denim in, is
uh,
denim out? So I want to talk denim versus fashion pants.
mm.
What's your take?
I grew up in the school of hard knocks when it comes to denim. I don't think denim ever goes out of style. I'm sorry. Look, I have in my closet denim and fashion pants. I have them both, but I will never be of the mindset that denim is going anywhere. It's going to come in waves. Maybe sometimes the trend is the really tough, nudie or naked and famous Japanese selvage denim that doesn't move, and then other times maybe it is the spandex infused, very form fitting denim. Maybe it's the baggy, maybe it's the loose, but I think our customers honestly have whiplash with the denim trends too. Like I see it all the time on different social media channels where our customers are like, okay, I'm so tired. I just bought the baggy denim and now you're telling me that the straight leg cigarette style is back in, and which is it? Can I just wear what I like and what looks good and fits for my body type? So I don't think denim is going anywhere. I I think both fashion pants and denim have been around for a long time, and I think they both have a place in my closet. Denim will always have a place in my closet, always.
Well, I want to give a hot tip, and I'm gonna give a shout out to Mark Dankler again, because we got to think of footwear as well. But here's where I think there's a huge opportunity, because I
Okay.
think that I mean, listen, the explosion in the wide leg pant trend is just palpable. Like you could feel it.
Yeah. Yeah.
People are
Yeah.
back to wearing. We're not wearing a skinny jean. We're not wearing
Yeah.
even leggings. Of course, everyone's wearing a legging, but it doesn't feel
Yeah.
as you know, ubiquitous, right? People are
Yeah.
experimenting with cargo and wide leg and
Yeah.
different fabrics. And
Yeah.
I think
Yeah.
that's a great opportunity for a footwear retailer, or whether you're a fashion retailer that sells footwear,
Hmm.
or you're a footwear store, because with a different pant style, you need different footwear, right?
This is very, very true. So yes, with different pant styles, you absolutely need different footwear.
So all of a sudden, you're wearing a bigger baggy pant. Maybe you need a dad sneaker that's really chunky, or the
Yeah.
opposite, which we're seeing now, which has been crazy, like the ballet flat sneaker, right? Those
Yeah.
super, super
Yes.
low
Adidas.
profile.
They did it so well. It was hilarious seeing the runway shows with all the mockery around, the models with like half a shoe on, coming out of the runway shows. And then to see what that said into how it translated with Adidas and their small ballet flat with the back open, and you're just like, that's Adidas. It's genius. It's great. Um, how long will that trend last, to your point? Are we riding a very short wave? Is it going to be around for a while? That's the part where I think, again, you have to know your customer and you have to know your girl and what they have the appetite for. Are they the trendsetter? Are they somewhere in the middle? are they really like at the end of that spectrum where if you introduce that, it would be an absolute flop? Everything is about timing and knowing your customer. So,
And then, like
um,
you said, and which I love, what just becomes a new, not a trend, but a new standard, right? So,
I mean, I'll be the first to say dad sneakers. I thought they were going away. I'm just going to be honest. I was kind of hoping. Sorry, guys. Sorry, guys. I was kind of hoping they were going away. But they're not. They're here to stay. I mean, I just came back from New York. I, got off a flight late last night, and it's interesting because from New York to LA, when you're in New York, I see every girl in a feminine top or a feminine flowy dress or, like a really basic tank and, fashion pant. But she always has on the big, chunky fashion sneakers, and that is such a New York thing. In LA, you don't see that as much.
mm,
You just don't. So again, region really matters here. And that's, two of our, largest and most influential cities as it relates to our industry. And they are very different. Um, so there's trends that last and then there's trends that don't. But I think again, knowing your customer.
we love that. Okay, we have just a few minutes left, so I'm just gonna
Yeah.
quickly say, if we can put back in the chat the link to sign up for the Premier Partner Lounge. We want to make sure that if you are a
Yes.
Management One client and you want to be in the Premier Partner Lounge, please use the link in the chat,
Such a
and
good perk.
it's a great
Such a good
perk.
perk. Yeah.
And then again, Magic, we will be attending Magic. You could find us on the Project Main Stage, the Magic Main Stage, the Business Solution Center, our sourcing tour, which we will send out the sign up for. But I want to leave with one last question because this is
Okay.
it's my favorite topic of conversation right now. And I think as millennials, because I am like a dead center millennial, right? Like I am.
Okay. I'm an
Okay.
elder. I'll take the title. I heard that title and I was like, I like that. I'm at the very like top of the top. So I skew with the older millennial, but let's go.
So my and yeah, I lean a little bit on the older millennial, but I'm like a real tried and true millennial. I think we
Okay.
have to concede that Gen Z is now the buying. Gen Z is the buying
Yeah.
power, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
They're the buying
Yeah.
power right now. And one trend that I have seen, and it
Oh,
is just amazing when I walk on the floor, and I think it is such a shift from 5 years ago, 10 years ago, really pre-COVID. It's just rocking my world. Sexy feels like it's out. I see
you
when
I
I
was
walk in.
waiting. I was waiting on what you were going to say. I'm like, are we going for the low rise jeans? Are we going for the juicy couture tracksuits? Like, what are we bringing back? But that's a really good high level way to say it's sexy.
It's not, listen, sexy is always going to sell, but there doesn't seem to be this emphasis. I mean, when you used to walk the floor, it was tight and short, and
Yeah.
that would, and now you see this mixing of silhouettes, right? So maybe if you have I mean, one thing that I saw last show was the kind of tight bodycon dresses, or a more
Yeah.
tight with a
Mm-hmm.
big
Mm-hmm.
kind of grandpa sweater over it, or a
Yeah.
big
Yeah.
chunky cardigan. So it's like this interplay, and I think it's Gen Z driven, of this, especially in women's fashion. Like, we're not about just like, how short could it
I,
be, how low could
yeah.
it be. I think there's been a really big shift, and I think that's why the wide leg pant and I kind of like it. It's just really
I
interesting to
love this
see.
shift. I was about to say, as a female who, um, we'll get a little bit more personal, but as a female who feels very comfortable in her own body at a certain age, and I mean, obviously, we all want to look a certain way. I have always had a rule where, and this has been my whole life, where if I'm going to wear a short skirt, I'm going to wear a long sleeve top. If I'm going to wear a revealing top, I'm going to wear suit pants. I'm always trying to balance so that it's not overtly sexy, that it's classic and sophisticated, but still I feel like a woman. So I think in women's wear, I agree that I would agree that overtly sexy is out. I think what is in is sophisticated, um, maybe sophisticated sexy, because like you said, like the jacket over the tight revealing top, because you want a little bit of that, but yeah, I never want to go back. I'm sorry. As a millennial, I never want to go back to, and very fond memories. I never want to go back to the Paris Hilton, Britney Spears, Lindsay Lohan days where the thongs were hanging out. And I did see a little bit of that on the runway in the past few seasons where I was like, oh, please
Ay,
no.
ay,
Like
ay.
that is one cycle I'm not going back to. Um, but I think, you know what? I have to give Gen Z credit on this one. I think Gen Z is more comfortable with themselves maybe than our generation was. Like maybe we were trying to be something or trying to. I love this idea of individuality, and in your fashion and being comfortable in what you wear. Like you can be comfortable and you can still be sexy. And that's what I love. Again, for me, a good pair of jeans, a good white top or tank, there's nothing sexier. So,
Love it. So,
yeah,
by
I
the way,
like this.
my rule of thumb is always baggy on baggy, yes. Tight on baggy, yes. Baggy on tight, never. Tight on
Okay.
tight, 50-50. That's my
Okay.
that's my rule of thumb.
Okay. Okay. Are we going from, I imagine the order is top to bottom.
Yes,
Okay.
baggy
Okay.
on
Copy that.
baggy, tight
Okay.
on baggy. So that's my
Okay.
little rule of
Baggy
thumb.
on tight, I would challenge for a woman because that's actually one of my favorite looks is I love a good
The
oversized
Princess
sweater.
Diana.
I love a good oversized sweater with a tight short skirt. Nothing better for me.
It's
So
all
I'll
regional.
challenge that one.
It's all regional. Okay, well, Emily, this was absolutely
Yeah.
fantastic. We are so excited to once again partner with Informa to
Yes.
be at the shows, to see you in Vegas. We'll see you in New York. We're so excited that you are at the helm
Oh,
of
thank
the
you.
fashion
Yeah.
direction of Vegas and Nashville and Magic. So, thank you so much for being with us here today on Indie Insights Live. And I'll see you in just a week and a few days.
Thank you so much for having me. And again, I could not be more excited to have you guys as a partner with all that you guys are bringing to the marketplace. So thank you guys for that. And my new mission in Vegas is that we will walk the show floor together and I'm going to find an example of baggy and tight and show you that it can work.
You're on.
All right.
All right. Thanks, Emily. And everyone,
Thanks.
we will see you next week on Indie Insights Live.